Hello, this is Venus Claybrooks. This is the assignment for Module 8. Hello, Karen. Hello, Dr. Mac. Um, I'm going to try to make this as fast as possible because every time I do a video, I talk too much and it's always 20 minutes, and I don't want to do that in this video. So I'm going to put the link. Um, well, not the link. I'm gonna put the references below, or I'm gonna make them a part of like the last little screen that you see, and and I think that's it. So to get started, the first question is to give an overview of the students' discipline issues, and one of the things I found said the goal of positive discipline is to teach children to develop safe, socially responsible behavior that promotes self-respect and respect the feelings and property of others. Remember that discipline and punishment are not the same. Discipline is a guidance the for teaching that promotes positive behavior. And I would just say for the school system that I work in, um, that is something they try to work on. We have something called PBIS for kids. Positive, it's a positive behavior program. One of the teachers in the school kind of oversees it, but in the classroom, what happens is that if a child, has some disciplinary issues, the teacher will give a warning. Then they will do what they call a teacher reset, and then to give the child an opportunity to straighten up again. And then the third thing is to do a dean reset. And what happens is they go see the dean. We have at all our schools, we have roughly maybe about 3 to 4 deans at every school, and then there's a dean over the whole school, and then there's a dean over all of those deans. um, and once the child goes to see the dean, if they go back to the classroom and then they get in trouble again, then they have maybe in-school detention, or depends upon the severity of the infraction, they have the after-school detention. With all that, goes a phone call home to the parents. Now, if the child discipline problem seems to escalate, and it's uh-oh, sorry about that. I got an ant on my computer. Um, and it's continuous and continuous, and they start working, the discipline starts to come out of parameters. Say if they have an IEP, then we have a program that the kids can also attend, where they go to another school for kids with disciplinary actions. It's called RTP. It's like the therapeutic program for our school system. Let me see. And the next one is best practices in student discipline. And so what I'm saying here is that the value of discipline is the way to do what needs to be done. Not only does the practice allow one to establish a positive action, it helps us train our minds and bodies to enable us to focus on our goals and to regulate our emotions. It helps preserve society's peace and order, and I think we can use that the same, in the school system, as well. One of the things I always hate is when I walk by a classroom and I hear a teacher just yelling and screaming to the top of her lungs, or using, a tone that is kind of inappropriate, because I don't think kids react to that. I think they react more negatively to those kind of tones and those kind of aggressions from teachers. And I know that sometimes teachers are just, not that I'm saying it's okay, but sometimes teachers are just, they're human too, and they just be like, can I just get you to concentrate? And but I think the more either you try to, you know, not you reason with the child, or just be stern in your rules and you follow the consequence ladder or the disciplinary ladder, I think that established that, routine for the student. And like I said, if a student just gets too out of hand, then there's other, ways that, the deans and the principals can, also handle that child. Next one is common issues of equal education and opportunities. Um, So the biggest thing here in New Orleans where I'm at is poverty, and this is what I found on, just food for thought, is that poverty of large sections of the population, it's one of the biggest cause for unequal education opportunities. And for instance, students from economic Poor families are more likely to attend schools characterized by the worst infrastructure. It's true here as well. Fewer qualified teachers, less ambition with peers, and they are most likely to end up in lower learning outcomes. Educational inequality is about the disparity of access to educational resources between the different social groups. Um, for example, you have the resources. You have those with resources including like school funding, for the poor area, they don't get a lot of funding. Experience and qualified educators. A lot of educators want to, work, in schools in better neighborhoods. Educators don't want to fear going to teach the kids either. They don't want to fear going to work, and they also want to work in a school with a nice facility. That is not run down and it's not broken down. um, so you got a lot of the good quality, and all educators, not all educators, but most educators really, they went into education because they want to help the kids. But in the same sense, in a manner, they also want to be, in a facility that's, where the scaffolding is not scaffolding. What is that? That stuff in the ceiling is not falling down around them. Like where the bathrooms work and the cafeteria is good and conducive for, good and healthy lunches and stuff like that. And when I moved to New Orleans, it was kind of a culture shock here for me to see that a lot of that is not really happening. It's getting a little bit better, but I was just really surprised to see the conditions of some of the schools that the kids were in, especially the schools that my kids were going to. I actually took my daughter out of one school because I was like, I just can't see how kids learn in that kind of environment. So I can understand, why teachers don't want to, well, qualified and experienced teachers want to, work in the best schools. Then you have those teachers that just want to work in those urban neighborhoods because they want to make sure that those kids get what, kids in, better affluent areas are getting. And so, my hat's off, to those teachers that want to do that and stay there and be consistent in those kids' lives. They don't have, access to books. They don't have access to great technology. Like I just say, when I was living in Richmond, Virginia, and every child had a computer that they could take home, like every child. Like I think once no, it was elementary school too, because my daughter, when she was in elementary school, she had one. We moved here when she was in middle school, so every child had access to either a tablet or computer that they could take home. But here that's not the case. Like it's just not the case. Like, and the crazy part is here that a lot of the homework is online and digital. So in my after school programs, like I'm about to buy a lot of tablets and stuff and computers just so we can create our own computer lab and after school. Because otherwise than that, we have to depend on teachers to give us like a page out of a workbook or a worksheet or something like that just so we can do homework with the kids. But yeah, that's what's going on here. And let's see, and the facilities we talked about. I talked about the facilities earlier, so such as like the sports and recreational facilities. One of the things we want to do here in New Orleans is give the kids something to do after school, give them a place to go, give them, you know, something to do. And a lot of times, kids don't want to stay behind because, or parents don't want them to participate because it's like, no, the equipment doesn't look good or the facility is raggedy, or whatever the case may be. And a lot of the partnerships, that we want to have, sometimes they pick and choose who they want to deal with. Now we do have a good, recreational system here. We do have like some good people that come into the school, but those facilities are also suffering, especially, from hurricanes and stuff like that. Just trying to come back. So, in the South, when I'm writing my papers, I talk about, sometimes Southern schools, and this is just my experience versus, Northern schools, and just such a big difference um, in how the educational, system is ran. And so those are some of the, inequalities, some of the issues of equal opportunities, some of the best practices to ensure equal educational opportunities are, um, you know, reflect on, reflect on your own beliefs um, about the educational system. If you really into it, you in it to win it. You in it to really educate the kids and to make sure the kids, have good education to become productive, citizens. Of the community or wherever they're going to live, or if they're college bound, or if they want to learn a trade, or if they want to go into the military, make sure it's a positive reflection on that. Don't reflect your negative beliefs or your personal beliefs. Just stick to what's factual about the educational system. Because guess what? It is what it is. I mean, I'm in Louisiana, and I think we're number 49 or 48 at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to, children's health and children's education and stuff like that. So you want to reflect on how things, how you can make it better, and as a student, especially, getting your lesson and, and being disciplined in the classroom. The other thing is, you know, um, reduce race and gender barriers to learning. You can't always say, "Well, boys are good." I know sometimes it's statistically found, but when you say it out loud, it just makes each gender think they can't do as well in certain subjects. Like boys are good in math and science, girls are good in English and social studies. But why can't everybody be good in everything? And like I say, I know it's statistically found. And sorry for my um, saying that, stumbling over that. But I think if you put in there that boys can do anything and girls can do anything, girls rule the world. I think if you put that out there and you really having children actually believe in themselves, because if you believe in children, that's all they need is like one adult to believe in them and to believe in what they can do. And sometimes that makes a difference. And I love when I see some of my older kids now, and they say, "Hey, Miss V, you remember when you got on me in class and blah 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 blah," or when you was like, you playing football, so we getting those grades up. I love that when I see them. They older, they have their own children, or they're it's like with their uncle or something. It's like, yeah, that was my cheerleading coach and my dance coach, and man, she was so hard on us. And if we went below a 2.5, she made us go to to tutoring and stuff like that. But it's because I believe in them, and now and then I reap the rewards later, but they reap the rewards forever, and that's like, I'm about to cry, but that's the good part. Ooh, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. About this whole thing. So, get it together, girl. Get it together. Anyway, don't ask students to be don't ask students of color to be expert in their own race. That is so crazy down here. Every school that I've worked in since I've been here in New Orleans is predominantly black. It's about maybe 90% black. Maybe in one area it might be like 10% Asian or 10% Hispanic. Now the Hispanic population is becoming more prevalent and larger in our school system. But there's not everybody looks like the child that they're teaching. So you can't just say like, well, you black, you know how that go, or you Hispanic, you know how that go. No, it's not like that. It shouldn't matter of the color of their skin. Now they are going to have experience because of the color of their skin, but that's just something you keep outside the classroom. But it's something internally as a teacher you recognize. It is not really about race to me. It's more about culture. It's more about culture. And every culture, wherever you go, like I said, it was a culture shock for me when I moved from Virginia to New Orleans, and just to see, and just to be fair, I did move a year after Katrina. So it was just crazy down here. But the culture is so different. The culture is so rich. The culture is just so full of history, and it's still being practiced, with Mardi Gras, with the Mardi Gras Indians, with just the way they cook, and it's just different down here. It's just traditions that I didn't experience, in Virginia. And these people, the people in New Orleans are, I mean, they love their culture, and very, very much so. It's a beautiful culture, but I think not so much as race here for me as culture. And I'm saying New Orleans because all of Louisiana is not like that, and other places in Louisiana it might be a race thing. Oh Lord, I'm at almost 15 minutes. I told y'all I could talk. Let me let me come down. Let me see. Have diversity in your curriculum. Hold every student to high expectations, and we talked. I talked about that earlier. Just telling every child that you can do whatever. You don't just because you're a boy don't mean you're good at this. Just because you're a girl don't mean you can't be good at this. Just hold students to high expectations and support them in that. And once you see what they're good at, what if they have a passion or there's a little twinkle that goes off, then I, hone in on that. And I think that also helps with discipline when a child has a teacher at the school that they know believes in them, and believes that they can do something that they previously didn't think that they could do. And they want to go to school every day and they want to be with that teacher. I don't care if it's first period or fifth period. They want to be with, that teacher. But I think all teachers should, try to hone in on that. Avoid assumptions about students' background. I touched on that a few minutes ago, um, about that. And like I say, it's a cultural thing. But sometimes, you hear some people in the school system say, "Oh, that's a parenting issue. Oh, that's in the house. I'm not messing with that." Blah 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 blah. But I think, that student can't help what's going on with them at home. They can't help that. Like, they can't help the situation they was born into or the situation they are being raised into. That's not the student's fault. Um, our job is to, when they're with us, because they're with us most of the day, is to don't worry about that part. We can do what we can to help them if it's a serious situation, but don't say, oh, he grew up in a project, so that's why he act like that. No, don't do that. um, and that also contributes to the discipline. So now you are actually projecting, like I said earlier, your beliefs on that child, because they live in a project or they growing up in a project, that this is why they act like that. No, sometimes you have to go deeper sometimes. You have to go deeper. But don't make any assumptions. If that child comes in and they're hungry, they need to eat, make sure they're fed, and do whatever you can do while you're at the school to make sure they're getting what they need. And I also think all of that contributes to the discipline. It contributes to the behavior, okay? Because, discipline, behavior, hand in hand. Okay, and like I said earlier, with the discipline part, discipline is to, not to punish, but um it is to guide them. It is to guide them. Okay, so my children want to come out the house because I talk too much. They try to go somewhere. So I'm hoping um that I answered all the questions and I answered them properly and correctly. I'm going to add on to this, um, the references, so you guys can know where I got some of my information from. So I hope y'all have a great rest of y'all holiday, and thank you for listening.